Hi there, everyone. We're in week 3, and this is the core part of the book. We're working on life, let it flow effortlessly, how being genuine creates real value. And then we're now going to be going into the life process. So for those of you that are on the electronic version, it's not necessarily paged out, but for those of you that are working with pages, we're going to be going through pages 35 to 62. So I want to get into this so we can, there's just a lot of meat here, and I know you've got a lot of foundation. So for just a moment, be with me here, be present. And so one of the things that's really hard for us in this society is we're always thinking of what's happened to us in the past, and we're worrying about or trying to calculate how we're going to deal with something in the future. So there's a principle that I like to work with, is called the blank sheet of paper. So right now in this moment, it's never happened before. And so if you remember, you'll even see on the front cover there, I haven't really talked about it that much yet, but there's a subtle pattern in this background back here. And it's the pattern of your thumbprint. There's never been anyone like you, and there never ever will be. So when you think about that uniqueness and you try to bring that to your activities in your life, building relationships, creating community, having a job, building a business, whatever that may be, when you bring that kind of uniqueness to the present moment, that blank sheet of paper, then what happens is magic happens. And that's really the essence of what we're trying to do here with you, because we can look at those crabs, we can see why they're there, we can see who they are, we can even see that they're you, holding you back, right? But nothing's going to change until we actually start to build a foundation. So our beliefs is that foundation. We're just checking it. We're testing it. Is it true? Is it true for me now? Maybe it was true for me then, but do I choose to make that true for me now, right? I can always look in the middle of that word belief, there's a word called lie, L-I-E. Inside a belief, inside a believe, L-I-E is in there. And all I'm doing is I'm checking with you so that you'll be the one that checks your beliefs. If I believe the world is flat, I'm going to react in a certain way. If I believe the world is round, I'm going to react in a certain way. Both are true. Just like Henry Ford's quote, whether you think you can or think you can't, you are right. So now if we take that you and we understand this uniqueness, you is your own uniqueness. There's never been anyone like you. There never ever will be another. This is something completely unique to you. You have a certain way of seeing and processing. You have certain personality traits and love languages and strengths. You have a certain way of behaving in the world. And when you don't show up as you, we all get ripped off. We're missing that uniqueness that you're here to offer. Maybe you're the one that's going to say, stop, don't turn that way. And that's going to save a whole bunch of people from doing something. Maybe you're going to be the one like, you know, this doesn't make any sense that every time I do this, this, and this, I get this bad result. And so you're going to be the one that's going to change and reform things. You might watch over kids and see that we need more support. You might watch over education and see that there's a better way to mentor people instead of just tasking and overloading them with language and information that they could find on the internet in 2 seconds. They know they don't know. Why in the world am I trying to memorize this? I could just look it up, right? But we need to teach them how to think and relate to one another, first to themselves and then to others. So this is sort of the biggest foundation that we're sitting on. Belief. What do we believe right now? And I'll tell you, if you don't know what you believe right now, look at how you're acting and you'll find what decision you've made that will reveal your beliefs. For instance, when I consulted in my business, my branding and marketing business years ago, because I've been a consultant for decades, and I used to hear this all the time from some of my clients. They'd be like, or some people that weren't my clients that I told them they should be my clients. They were like, oh, in Phoenix, it's hot. It's hot in the summertime. Nobody does anything. It's just no business happens in Phoenix in the summertime. It just drains down. And I was like, well, that's interesting. If you want an excuse to go on vacation, then just go on vacation. But don't say that, oh, the business is declined in order to create that so that you're justified in going on vacation or an extended vacation. And it was interesting because those that chose not to believe that, just like Henry Ford, they said, no, that's not true. My business thrives in the summertime. My business was one of those. We used to have some of our biggest months in July because people were preparing for the fall and for the busy season. So they were getting their marketing and branding all done, right? But I had just as much business, if not more, in the summertime when it was hot in Phoenix, because I chose to focus on a belief that I believed it was there. And so I found it. So you get what you look at, and what you focus on expands. So I know that was a lot there. I'm glad it's on recording here, so you can go back and play that part again and repeat it again and again, because you got to get this in your mind. It's not being talked about in, you know, broad spectrum in mass areas. It's basically a limited thinking that's going on, that's being passed along. There's so many people out there telling you what you can't have. Believe me, I know. Married an artist, we're both artists, and everyone was telling us how, you know, you can't make a living in art, you can't thrive in art, you guys won't make it. And so that was interesting, because we've made it. You know, we've been married almost 30 years now, and we've been, never have we ever been starving artists. So it's been amazing, because we chose to believe something different, and we chose to protect our beliefs. Once you know what that belief is and it serves you, you got to protect it, or else people are coming chiseling at that concrete foundation, or they're drilling in from other places trying to pop a hole in that, make a crack in that. Because, you know, mass thinking is what keeps us the same, and that's that crab kind of theory, is that, you know, it's putting us in a limited thinking. So this life process was something that was inspired to me, and I just kept seeing it play out over and over and over again. So we're going to go through this, and if you need to, like I said, I'm glad it'll be on video here, so you can go back and listen to it again and again. But the principle of this life process, it's a 3-step process. It goes, 1 is believe. You have to know what you're believing. 2 is decide, and it's really important that you decide, because not deciding is a decision. And then 3 is act. And so, you know, it's one of those things where it's so simple, you'll probably even think, oh, this is crazy. It can't be that simple, but it can. I'm just going to go through some highlights here as we kind of walk through these pages and try to catch this on as, you know, one video here if I can. If not, I'll break it into a couple parts. But I want you to be looking at, you know, looking at blind spots. So really, you know, what I want you to do is be watching out for things, because we're doing exercises and we're working with you. So you're mentoring you, and you're going to need to capture those blind spots and capture things in your journal, because what happens is as we start to get an aha moment, it fades. It goes away from us just as quickly as it came. And that's one of the reasons I'm not a big journaler myself, for a lot of reasons. You know, it takes some time. But it is important time, and every time I've done it, it has helped me to go through and look at and reflect. Clear knowledge, because I can look at lots of different things. When you write something down, you can come back to it months later and you can see, wow, that was really true. Or you can see, wow, look, I used to think that, but now I'm moving this direction, or I used to limit myself that way. So you're actually working with yourself in that writing activity to be able to have the ability to look at it from another perspective. So it's really important to do that. And that way you'll get your own revelations there. So really, if you think about it, you're going to prepare to shift your mindset first. So we've got a little bit of pre-work here before we actually get into the believe first step. So when we look at shifting your mindset, even that word, look at that word, S-H-I-F-T. Inside of that is if, the word if. So if we are willing to shift, then we will actually create something new. So if I'm continued down that path, I've got my head down and I'm walking hard, I'm not going to change anything. But if I will lift up and look and assess and make sure that I'm headed in the right direction, that I like the activities I'm doing, then I can actually press on. But I might need to take a look and go, well, I want to go that way just slightly, or I want to go that way just slightly. That if part is going to help you to be able to make sure you're not just running yourself right off the cliff, working yourself into incredible health concerns like I had in stress and overwhelm, and not really just not being who I was, trying to fit into a box that was really not suited for me. And it was in a toxic work environment, and it was very, very stressful. And, you know, sometimes people have this in their personal relationships, or sometimes they have them, you know, like toxic relationships at work. But I will tell you, it's a warning sign. It is a damaging thing that is turning our workplace into a very unsafe place. Now, I'm not telling everybody they need to be a business owner or an entrepreneur, although I do like to help people who want to do that, to find a way to do that on the side, even while they're working a full-time job. But what I'm getting at is that there's more demands being put on people, and they're working harder and harder for the same kinds of activities they would normally have been paid for. Now they're trying to do 2 and 3 people's jobs to try to get that same pay. Or in the healthcare industry, one of the things that's really on my heart, the healthcare industry is having so much where they're being stressed out, like they're doing their services and they're putting it through insurance, and it's taking them 6 to 9 months to get paid on that job. You can't have businesses that are like eye doctors and ear doctors and nurse practitioners and functional medicines and alternative kinds of things like chiropractic or acupuncture, physical therapy, you can't have these people working today and waiting to get paid 6 to 9 months from now. They won't be able to be in business. So it's important for us to make sure that we're helping people become healthy people and also have healthy businesses and operations so they can stay around. So preparing to shift your mindset, one of the things is awareness. And you'll see a story in the book that basically once we draw people's awareness to it, then they can actually make a decision about it. So many things we do unconsciously, and we repeat what happened yesterday. So I know I've said it before, but there's different people that'll say, different speakers and different research, we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, 80% of them negative, and a good majority of them are the same thoughts we had the day prior. So we're kind of in that Groundhog Day, rerunning and running and over again in our head. So when we stop and put an awareness, change the pattern. In this particular instance, it was energy management. We had a different kind of switch, and that changed human behavior. So what I'm asking you to do for a moment is suspend where you're at with whether you're caught up or whether you're ahead or whatever you're thinking on this particular mentoring series. And I want you to really be present here because I want you to be aware of what's working for you. What do you want it to do? Where do you want to go? And how can we help you to do that? Because that's really what's this pattern interrupt. It's gonna come in and it's gonna help you become aware of maybe there might be an like I need to shift slightly towards this other direction, right? But awareness is the key. If you are not aware, you can't make necessary changes for improvement. That's really huge, I really feel like. And awareness is the difference between being stuck where you are and being able to succeed. So think about that. It's just becoming aware. It's like people say, I'm stuck. Well, if you're stuck, let's stop for a moment and let's have a conversation. Let's have a mentor session. And even if you had someone you could hire for this, it would be priceless because in that moment, the questions they're going to ask are going to be helpful, but the thoughts you think and your takeaway from that, you might have completely different inspired thoughts just because of the conversation that they're bringing in front of you. And that's going to help you to become aware that you're not on the right path, or maybe aware that you have better strengths than you thought and you're more capable than you thought. Interacting with another human being in a coaching, consulting, or mentoring could be the most priceless investment you make. Sometimes you can get those for free. Like for people that read my book, when they come to page 33, at least if they've done that much work, I gift them a free mentoring session to respect that they have started down this path and they are working really well on themselves. And it's something that as long as I can continue to facilitate it, I'm going to be giving away those free mentoring sessions. They're not calculated to be like, oh, I'm trying to sell someone in a program. They're not calculated to be a certain amount of time. I'm just honoring that they chose to work with their own uniqueness and they're looking to be able to make something happen, to become more of who they are and to have things happen in their life effortlessly. Hopefully, they might want to look at business effortlessly. I love business, but if they're not a part of the business conversation, then at least I can help them live life more effortlessly. And that's something that I'm very passionate about. But being able to have people have that session is really important. And a lot of times, let's be honest, you're holding yourself back because you're not asking for help. You're not reaching out to those who have a vested interest in you, in your success. It could be a family member that wants to see you, they've always seen you as a success, or they want to maybe see you recover. Many people got hit by the recession. So it could be people around you that are your cheerleaders and champions, that they're trying to help you and you're not receiving it very easily because you want to do it all your own. And that's okay. It's a great independent characteristic. We've all got that strong backbone. It's sort of bred into us, right? But sometimes, and most times, I've found that I needed to be able to have someone else reflect in me what they saw so that I could actually step back up into that. And then I could use my own inspiration added to that and multiply that in a way that was, I created results really fast that way. So I've had many mentors in my life. I've hired many coaches. I've been to many seminars. And some of these things, I'm sharing this with you because you need to look at what your resistance is to invest in the most important person, which is you. So think about this. Like I've had coaches that I paid $250 a month. I've had coaches that I paid $2,500 a month for. I've had seminars I've been to that were free or a few $100s. I've had seminars that I paid $20,000 to go to. Some that were repeated ones that were $8,000 for the week, right? So it's important to know, not to share this with you to say, look what I've spent, but I'm just sharing with you. You vote with your dollars and your time. And I'm loving that you voted to invest in you here. And that's what I want to celebrate, is that you're the most valuable part of the whole equation. Because everything that happens in your life, in your job, and in your business, the common denominator is you. And as we can help you to see your own uniqueness, and we can expand your strengths, we can help you understand your type of personality and how you need to refuel, help you understand your love languages so you can see how you share appreciation and how you receive appreciation, and then have you really just start to turn on the faucet of letting life flow effortlessly. That's going to make the biggest difference, okay? Because for me, it's not about working hard. I used to think that. I grew up in an area that was all about working hard. We were rewarded for being the working hard people. And it's crazy when you start to let that go. Imagine thinking of, how can I achieve the most result with the least amount of effort? And it's legal. So just understand. So how could, think about this, like, how can I do the activities I need to in my job or my work or my community outreach, whatever it is I'm trying to do? How can I receive the most amount of result with the least amount of work? Some of the things that we do are, create a not to-do list. I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to hire somebody to help me with that. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to let that mess sit for a moment because I need to focus over here on something that's really going to transform my family and my finances, right? So you have to be able to know what to let go of. And I'm hoping that, being able to look at some of the stories that I'm sharing with in this book are just to give you ideas. They're not to tell you this is how to do it, because you're living your life and it's totally yours. No one else has any track record to tell you here's what works, and no one else can tell you here's how you're going to survive and solve it. But I do know that it matters for you to be able to get this going, because what's going to happen is you're going to rise up as one of those leaders in your community, and you're going to be one of the people that we're actually connecting our community with, because as we have these leaders that are enlightened and doing things from a servant leadership way instead of trying to dictate or manipulate people, we are actually lifting up a higher vibration of leadership, and we're building better collaborative communities, people that share things, people that work together to joint venture, people that are not isolated or trying to just take everything to their own. They're not the king of the hill or the queen of the hill. That mentality is gone. A 21st century leader is one who is vested, interested in helping other people to do the best they can. And so what we're doing is we're lifting others, and in doing so, we're creating more collaborative environments where we share and we connect more genuinely. And that's what's really going to be important, is you're going to be one of those kind of people. So let's see here. Understand that, your mind wants to be right. It will do almost anything to be able to prove those existing beliefs are right. You've already lived and weighed and even seen and concluded that that's how you got here. So as we prepare for success, we're going to look at what comes up and prepare your mind and your heart to receive the fulfillment you will have in the near future. And as you adjust your mindset, you'll adjust your heart set too. So think about that word, mindset. It's like in concrete. It's hard. It's already formed, right? So my goal is not to challenge your beliefs. This is about you challenging them. You need to look at the ones that need to be thrown away, and then you're going to be able to follow some questions here. But the work you do here will have a profound difference in the ability for you to receive fulfillment and experience success. And there's a really big part of that, as why I emphasize receive, is that many people are just holding back what's available for them, and they're not receiving it. If I don't receive the help or the support, think about how, maybe just even today, how can you receive more help everywhere? If someone offers to open the door, then say thank you. I appreciate that. Someone offers to be able to help you at your work or your event or whatever, your business, say thank you. I'd love for you to do this. If someone says, how can I help? Then find something to give them to help you so you can practice becoming a great receiver. We are taught so many times just to give and give and give. And what happens is that we put a block out there. Every time we give, we push more and more further away because we're so self-sufficient that no one then thinks we need anything. So we train them to stop asking to help us. So there's a whole bunch of questions and different things at the end of this preparation part. And as we go into the life process, we're going to start with the first one, which is believe. And what we want to do here is, just give you a couple of other thoughts. Like, think of yourself as delivering hope, like helping other people every day, right? That's kind of my business plan. Is I go out and I help other people every day. I share hope in the world. So it catches people off guard. They're like, what are you selling? What are you doing? I said, I'm sharing hope in the world. I'm actually helping other people every day. Well, what does that mean? Well, I might just, I might help a friend that needed, a ride to an appointment. I might help my mom, or something like that. I might help a business person to tell me a little bit about their marketing. I might help a coming up author to say, they've always wanted to get their book done, so I can give them some insight in how I wrote this in 3 days, and how I was able to get a publisher to be able to take a look at it, and they received it and they accepted it, right? It took me a long time to get it done because there was 8 years in there where I was struggling and wrestling with these crabs, but it was perfect. And so I can share that with them so they can find some encouragement. You want to create a positive impact in your community and the world by teaching this to other people that you know and care about. So you can take these principles, this experience, as I learn something and I do it myself. Then as I go out and teach another, what happens is then I'm actually anchoring the learning, and I'm also seeing it applied. So I'm getting more confidence on the material that I'm working through. Plus, that person is actually getting the benefit of what you're going through. So I would challenge you that if you really want to take this up, the way to really do it effortlessly and make it a part of your behavior, your activities, is to gather someone else and start walking them through this process of where we're at. They don't have to read the book if they want to. That's a great foundation. They'll get a lot of background work, but it could be that you're just doing those exercises with them. You're meeting with them daily or weekly in a way that you're actually mentoring them, as I'm mentoring you through the book and through this series, right? So take it and use it, because that's really how you're going to actually own it. As you achieve and grow more, others will look to you to lead them to do the preparation that you did, and they'll want you to guide them step by step in their own success. So they're going to look to you as a leader because you're behaving as a leader, right? People just need to be seen and heard. So this is a really important principle. It was an inspired vision that I had, and I know I've heard it from other people as well, so it's very much confirmed. But humanity as a whole, people just need to be seen and heard. When they are seen and they are heard, and then if you can add understanding to them, if you get a chance to have a conversation with them, they feel so complete. Doesn't matter if you agree with them, doesn't matter if you disagree with them. They just need to be seen and heard to matter. And then from there, then if you can have a conversation and they can start to feel understood, even if it's a different perspective, they're going to feel so whole and complete that there's going to be a sincere relationship and a connection. And that's where value is exchanged. Value is exchanged through relationships. That's why it's important to be able to create real value and be able to know that I can create real value very quickly in relationships that can create strong communities, because we need communities to be able to build this world. So let's get into believe. So I believe it's possible. Those words, I believe it's possible. It's always the most amazing thing when I'm working with someone and they're like, I get it, I believe it, I can do that. When you hear that essence of I believe it's possible, I know that there's going to be something that's actually changing for them. And so, it's basically like having them get to a point where they're like, I got it. And you can feel that transformation, that transition that they've gone through. Basically leading people around. I was able to work with direct sellers and network marketers in my past. And basically what we would do is, we would have multiple meetings and try to convince new distributors what's possible with this type of business model. The leader would have noticed the prospect's body language as being engaged, leaning forward, right? And head nodding, eyes wide open. And the leader felt like, they'd be confident that this connection was being made, right? What couldn't be seen, though, in those kinds of conversations where that person's energy was just overpowering their prospect, was that there was negative self-talk going on behind the curtain of that prospect. The silent business killer thoughts like, I don't think this can happen for me. And, if it's only this gal who's made it already, then, she's from the corporate office, then I'll never be able to do it myself. They're comparing themselves and they're thinking in their mind, this is a waste of time. So understand that a lot of the industry will tell you to be sort of energetic and positive and like out loud. It's like rah, rah, rah. It's all energy from the outside. It's all motivation. That's a force that's trying to push people to do something, right? And they're left with this because they don't know how to help people on the inside. I'm not dissing the whole industry. I'm just saying that inside of our industry, direct sales and network marketing, there's a lot of energetic things. Go to an event, get a boost. Go to another event, get a boost. And that's perfectly fine, but that's not going to sustain anything that's going to transform for a long time. We don't need to be micromanaging and motivating and manipulating people. We need to be drawing them out and having them be able to become all that they are, so that as they're out and about in their regular daily lives, doing the things they love, they'll be lifestyling this, and they'll be finding opportunities everywhere. So for instance, I drive a Jeep, and one of the things that I look at is that, it attracts people in a different way driving a Jeep. So I actually have a lifestyle that actually attracts people to want to talk to me about that. That creates relationships, and from those relationships, sometimes those questions can go into different things, because there's usually people that are trapped on certain areas of their life, and I look for people to be trapped on health, time, and money. So if they aren't getting good quality of time, and they don't have enough extra money to do what it is they want to do, then basically those are two areas that I can see that my business might help them. Or if I look at it from the health standpoint, I was a stressed out person working 60 to 80 hours a week. So I can relate to them really well and say, hey, there's opportunities here for us to help you with that stress. Let's manage that. Let's work on your hormones. Let's work on your foundation. All of those things allow me the opportunity to become that person to help them. And so just understand that how you are acting in that kind of thing, just really believing that you have uniqueness and that you can exist in a way that's going to attract people. That's going to be some of the first steps. But looking at what you believe about yourself is going to really depend on how far you can take them. So that's a key part. So I had a belief that I was going to be successful in college, and as I was studying as a graphic designer, I knew that I was going to be able to find a way to make it work. And when I was met with challenges, it was basically one of those things where I realized that each of these is kind of trying to take me out, and I was committed to find a way to be able to, express the talents that I had in a way that was valuable in the corporate world. And so I did that for a while, and then decided that, I could do this for myself. And so at that point, when I decided that I could do it for myself, that's coming up in the next step, then you'll see that totally transitioned everything. So belief is something that we have to check into. If you don't have belief right now, there's people that are probably working with you that are in your family or your work or your business, and that can help you to be able to gain belief from what they think about you first. So you can borrow the belief from others, because they see your best. They see the capabilities. They may have known you for years and seen how you were always this. You were always writing, so you should write books. You were always meeting people, so you should be connected to people. You were always fixing things, breaking things, taking them apart. So you should always be investigating things and thinking, working with strategic thinking to be able to find ways to use that, right? But you may have forgotten that. And so then if you forgot that, they can remind you of who you are, the value that you are, right? So just remember too, there's a story about transformation. And when you think about the butterfly as it's actually going through its transformation, you can't help it, right? This is your work to be done. If a butterfly is coming out of the cocoon, I can't go and cut it open and help set it free. If I do that, I'll actually take away the opportunity for that fluid to be squished into the wings, which is part of the natural squeezing when they come out of that cocoon, and they press out. Then that actually pushes a lot of life and fluid into their wings and helps them to be able to fly. So if we open them up ahead of time before they're ready, it won't work. We can't shortcut this process. This process is itself a transformation. Now, that doesn't mean it needs to take very long either, though. I've had people that have one conversation, and they've made something in that conversation where that became the catapult. Their belief was sound, and they decided in that moment when they were talking to me, they decided that they would put action with it. And once they did that, everything changed. I had a lady that was on the phone, her and her mom. I mentioned it in here in my book, but she and her mom were doing a coaching mentoring session with me. They were in a direct sales company. Her mom was already in the top leadership, and this daughter was just, she was missing how valuable she was. And she had some fear about connecting to people and talking to people. And so we just suggested to her, as we were, getting on a mentoring call, I just mentioned to her, and I said, hey, can you just ask one question, one more question when you're talking to somebody? We can create some questions for you, or you can just sort of have that in your pocket. Like, ask them about something that you see around them, or ask them about, tell me more about that, or what did you say, about that, or, just clarify something. Just ask one more question. And then that would help to volley the conversation back to that person. Because, I mean, if you think about it, a conversation is nothing but a tennis match, back and forth. And so when she heard that, ask one more question. In every conversation, every connection that she can have, ask one more question. She said, I can do that. And at that moment, that was the transformation. From that moment, she went to the top ranks in her company. That took some time for her to actually facilitate the activities from that call to that, end result. But in that moment, she decided to actually be that leadership level that she was attaining. Before that, her belief had caused her to never think of herself in doing that. So she was not making the decision, which is a decision. But the moment she said, I can do that, that was her deciding moment. And her actions that followed created exactly the titling ranks of the top of the company. So it was incredible. It was happening very, very quickly. So it doesn't have to take a long, long time. But you do have to check on that. And there's some more stories in there about, where I just give examples of, so you can think about where you're limiting yourself. We all are limiting ourselves. And so the journaling questions are there for you in the belief section, but let's look at decide. So you can't omit the decide step. And in fact, I believe in my mind, this is the most important step. And so in fact, this is the one where if you think about it, you're going to be, putting yourself on the divine side or the defeated side. So decide, right? You're going to want to know why you're actually doing this. You need to understand the why, because the why is going to be the emotional connection that you're going to have. It's going to be the fuel that's going to get you through the things that discourage you. If I create a business that's just going to try to cover my personal lifestyle, then what I'm going to have is nothing more than a job. So you got to think about why it is you're doing this so you can actually get to time and money freedom if you're building a business. Dreams and fulfillment aren't born out of necessity. Limiting them to bills actually suffocates your potential. So let's look bigger than that. Let's go beyond that. Let's know that you're already going to be able to create enough time and money value that that's going to be taken care of. Now, why are you doing what you're doing? If you're building a business, why that business? Why now? Why for this market? Let's think on that for a little bit, because that's going to be an essence of fuel that you're going to use. And the key in that is to decide what you want, what type of lifestyle you want. Driving a Jeep is letting us go to our RV and camping lifestyle. We have a camper, we pull behind it, we go out and we have fun, we get off road. We're not, massive, extreme people about that. My husband wants to be, but I don't. I choose to stay on roads, but anyway, or at least flat ground. But again, even within that, we're deciding to choose tools and things that we can use that are part of our lifestyle, things that create fun in us. And what that does is that creates a higher energy, and that lifestyle is actually attracting people that want freedom and want to be outside and do things, right? So that gives us a good conversation with people that we relate to. Yours is different. So who do you relate to? A key to enhance your lifestyle is to help more people enhance theirs. So think about it beyond just, if you're building a business, beyond the products and services you offer, how can you enhance people's lifestyles? How can you bring hope, helping other people every day? You see how these are different things that you can say you do that makes it go, well, wow, I thought you were doing that thing, bringing that box or doing that service. People put people into limits when they think about, oh, you just do that product and you offer that service or whatever. That's not who you are. You're enhancing people's lifestyles. You're helping people have more fulfillment. You're helping people have the value of time and money and being able to have choices with their life, to live their lifestyle and be fulfilled. These are big things, and that's what you're working on for you. And then again, as you go teach this to others, and as you live that lifestyle, then you're going to be able to attract those kinds of things. Remember, we don't get anywhere alone. It's the TEAM acronym. Together, everyone achieves more. We can't do this alone, so we have to have a good collaborative group to connect with. So there's some more things in there for you to be able to explore in the deciding part with some questions. But just remember this. When you look at refining yourself, being able to burn away those impurities, just like that silversmith, they hold the metal over the fire to burn away the impurities. We're just asking you to check the beliefs that don't serve you now, the ones that won't carry you to the future. We're going to burn those away and refine your molten silver metal, and we'll know that it actually is good and that we're right on path when it reflects you. I look at this in the spiritual sense as, as I can burn away more of my own, sort of like selfish desires, then I can be more for serving others and living out my ministry and my mission in life. then I'm able to reflect. That metal will reflect my creator. That's how the silversmith knows that the metal is done, is it reflects the face of the maker. And isn't that a beautiful analogy to be able to apply to your life? Okay, so quickly here, I'm going to wrap up here with number 3, act. This is the key piece. This is where most people focus all their attention, but look how much attention we put on believe and then deciding. And now we're at the part where we're actually starting to take some action. So think about this. You're going to want to build it in a process. That's why we did it this way. You know, let's see here. We might not have seen you prepare by battling the bucket crabs, getting unstuck from a mindset and releasing limiting beliefs. This all happens inside, right? But evidence of removing the mindset barrier appears as you are able to receive more money, more success, a larger organization, and as you build. Notice your language. It's telling of how you see yourself now. It's getting stronger, and you can hear your conviction. You know, do you feel your commitment to success is increasing? And so what's going to happen is you'll hear in people's language now in the future, you'll hear that they're stuck. You'll be able to offer maybe some conversation or have a meeting with them, right? Because you can hear it in their language. So I had a retreat one time, and I made the decision to stop being a human doing and to become a human being again. That was an important moment in my path of transformation, is that I had chosen, I had decided at that point to become a more powerful human being, and everything changed from that. And I did that first by just being genuine. I had to be honest with myself that I was working like a crazy human doing slave, and I had to shift that. So when I decided to become a human being again, I knew that my presence alone created value. And I started watching that show up. People would just say things like, you know, I just feel better when I'm around you, or wow, you know, I'd love to just sit with you some more. You know, you bring such value to my business, my job, my life, whatever. And it was really cool because I started seeing just showing up. My presence alone was enough. It added value. And so I embraced my real self. It shifted me towards real goals, and I chose to be more strategic, big picture planning, and less tactical brass tacks projects. So I developed my leadership capabilities because I wanted to play at a higher level. See, I had to understand, why did I want to do that? Why did I want to develop those leadership skills? And I didn't want to constantly be tied to a computer, because I love people, and I wanted to be out with you and be with people and be able to spark them and sell them on themselves, so that they could know they were valuable and priceless and beautiful and capable. And then if they want to do anything, it doesn't matter, they're going to do it more delightfully, right? It doesn't matter if they're in business. They might be the best mom possible. But in that situation, if I can make sure that that mom knows that she matters, she's valuable, then that's going to be a key thing that I felt like I wanted to take action on. So knowledge plus experience gives you great wisdom. And I think that was really a key thing, is that our knowledge, we're learning, and our experience, and then we look at that, and that's the wisdom that we can leverage. So we're going to be looking at then embracing change and uncertainty. I'm going to stop it right here, because we're basically right at the end of ACT on page 57, and I'll pick that up again, and we'll talk a little bit more. I know I went through a lot there. Sorry I had to go so quickly, but I believe in you. This is awesome. Let's put the life process to work.